All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We're just a bunch of Kiss fans and we talk Kiss. So come along for the ride, you've got nothing to lose.
All right, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill. We got Daniel Wees, we got Marcus Almighty Mark, and we've got the voice of reason, 69th Blizzard, the one, the only, Ken. So thanks for joining us today to talk about the obvious. The elephant is in the room, but I would just like to remind everyone that we're here because we love Kiss. We're here to talk about Kiss. It's impossible today for the announcement this week about the Kennedy Center honors to not skirt the the gravity of politics, but we're really not interested in going at it from the political angle as such of one party versus another party, one group of people versus another people, because we're a Kiss podcast, we're a bunch of music fans, and we're not going to change anyone's opinions. And as Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley used to say, artists need to shut up and do what they're good at, which is play their instrument. Well, I can't play an instrument, but I can operate a microphone, so it's best that I stick to that. Thank you for joining us today, joining us live. It's been a hell of a week with that announcement. So let's just get started with that and just go around the table with, starting point. What did you know about the Kennedy Center honors prior to the announcement this week that Kiss would be honored as part of the 2025 group of celebrants? Daniel, let's go to Sweden first on this, as you're furthest away.
The biggest thing we have over here is the Polar Music Prize. I don't know. Do you know about that? The Polar Prize?
Yeah. For Polar music.
Yeah, the Polar Music Prize. But the Canada thing there, I can't say I really know a lot about it. The only thing I know about it is I came across a great performance by the band Heart at one of these shows. They covered, I think, a song by, was it Stairway to Heaven, I think. They did, and it sounded awesome. And I just can remember Robert Plant, the band, Robert Plant and the two other guys, they were in the audience watching this, and Robert Plant had tears, in his eyes because he thought it was so beautiful. So that's what I'm hoping for. That's the only thing I know about this award show, that it seems like people are playing the honorees' music. If that happened, I'm all in for it, As long as these kind of award shows leads to interesting performances, I'm all in.
Yeah, nice. Good external response. And yeah, the Polar Awards I've heard of, but I haven't watched. I don't know much about them. I know ABBA used to get them quite regularly in the 70s, obviously. Wasn't that the name of their studios as well that they recorded
Polar, at? It's like a record label too, right?
Yeah. So Ken, let's go to deep in the heart of California.
I was well aware of the Kennedy Center honors, and I would check it out, yearly to see who, or if there was any interest for me to actually, watch it or anything like that. And I have, when I think they, Billy Joel and other artists in the past that I like or respect, I'll watch it. I think I did watch some of that Led Zeppelin one when that happened. And yeah, it's a, it's an honor thing coming from, I guess, the government, or whatever, but still it's all about just honoring that artist and their history and what they've contributed to whatever, the arts, basically. So I was aware of it, and I was very surprised. I never crossed my mind that Kiss would be honored by this. You think, okay, they might get some kind of lifetime achievement award with the Grammys or something, which has never happened either. And it's like, why they give a lifetime achievement award to a band that's been there 2 years. And it's like, wait a minute, you're forgetting about a lot of these other artists like Kiss and so on. But yeah, I was very aware of it. So I was very happy. I heard about it kind of the early news from Julian. So because he had inclinations or heard some rumors about it. So yeah, I'm very happy.
Yeah, we saw the rumors on the Washington Post, got leaked information
That's
from the Kennedy Center. So that's why we kind of knew about it very early, simply because someone was following that Twitter feed and shared it. So I picked up on that and was able to then share that information. Mark, the Canadian, you're closer to the U.S. Kennedy Centers. What do you know about it prior to the announcement?
Diddly squat, really. I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, being a Rush guy, I mean, their whole mentality towards was that they didn't really give too much care to it. They were, and that's fine. I mean, some people place a lot of importance on it and stuff like that. I mean, they wanted Juno early in their career, so that's one thing that's here in Canada. But the big thing that they did get was being made officers of Canada, getting the Royal Order of Canada in '97, right? So that's like a really huge thing here in Canada to have. So I'm not sure if that's equal to the Kennedy thing, because I don't know enough about the Kennedy honors thing to compare it that way, but it is a big thing here, right? And that does have sort of a connection to politics. And as we do know, Neil was sort of he wasn't political in the sense that he didn't do any kind of protests and stuff like that, but he did have lyric stuff that did talk about certain political aspects at in a certain point of their career. But I didn't really know much about the Kennedy honors one, but I did see that performance that Daniel was talking about with Hart and when they did the thing for Led Zeppelin. That was a great performance.
Yeah, the Juno Awards are more like the Canadian Grammys, I guess. Perhaps because they are restricted to Canadian, predominantly Canadian acts. So when I was doing the Phase 1 episode of Audio Odyssey, obviously Bob Ezrin's omission for The Wall from that was seen as a massive snub. So yeah, I don't know if the Junos equate, and I can't think of something in Britain, maybe the Royal Concert, whatever. I can't even remember what it was called.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Princess
the Royal
Trust.
Variety Show.
Princess Trust, right?
Yeah, so again, it's a great honor, and there are anti-monarchists who no doubt have performed, or even the Beatles, going back to the rich people shake your jewelry up in the audience.
That one.
Again, when politics of any realm collide with music, it can make for an awkward interaction, and obviously I've done a separate video of my initial reaction to this, so anyone who hasn't referenced that, I've already explained that I didn't know a lot about the Kennedy honors other than a little bit similar to Daniel. When the Heart video came across, it wasn't something that I was looking forward to watch every year any more than I'd watch the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. It just really wasn't on my radar, because a lot of those artists, while I like James Cagney, while I like the Eagles, Paul McCartney, etc.
Yeah.
Again, it just doesn't cross my news desk to the point where I actually give a shit about recognition, because again, I love Kiss, and Kiss has seldom been about recognition. They just haven't gotten a lot during their career. So I would never have thought, with the announcement coming, that Kiss would even have been operating in the ballpark where they would be recognized on that sort of level. So let's just do a recap for anyone who hasn't seen it. This is a edited clip from the White House feed, different than the one I shared the other day of the president making the announcement.
And finally, we'll be honoring one of the greatest rock bands of all time, Kiss. So Kiss was formed in 1973 in New York City by founding band members, and incredible people, by the way, Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Ace Frehley, and Peter Criss. Kiss became a global phenomenon, sold more than 100 million records worldwide, and produced 30 gold albums and lots of other things they produced. They made a fortune. And they're great people, and they deserve it, and they work hard, and they're still working hard, and it's an honor to present Kiss.
Chris.
And they're going to do
Chris
something very
Kiss.
special. Kiss is going to be here on a little bit before the show. I think they're going to do something very special. We're going to have a good time. The 48th Kennedy Center honorees are outstanding people, outstanding group, incredible. We can't wait to celebrate the Kennedy Center honors. It'll be in December. It'll be on CBS.
All right. So, initial reactions to that was, number one, I always give the president bonus points where he makes it through an announcement clean. And he read the Kiss part perfectly fine. The cookies in the background unveiled their picture nicely. And I was watching it live. I mean, I was like, is this really happening? Or is this bad information? Because again, the president doesn't come up with the list of people. I think he was presented with a list and said, no, maybe, yes, find out. Yeah, oh, I like them. I think he probably did little check marks next to a whole list that he was presented. And then they probably called these people to see who would accept and who wouldn't accept, to make the announcement, because he's not, no one, whatever party, whatever is going to get up there and announce people and then have them holding up the middle finger, unless you're the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Sex Pistols give you that response. And then they're still in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame regardless of rejecting it. Don't forget that as well. But in this case, I don't see that much of a Donald Trump saying, let's put Kiss in. Just was not on my radar. Daniel, what was your reaction when the news hit on your fishing boat that Kiss was getting this wonderful honor?
Well, I was surprised. Much like Ken said, I had never thought that Kiss would get this kind of recognition at this point in time. On the other hand, personally, it's never been about the awards for me. So I think it's cool that they get recognition. Julian seemed to be over the moon about this, and I was happy about that. He seemed so jolly and made that video and seemed real happy about it. So I was glad for him. Personally, it's not that big of a thing. What I'm hoping for is that they can do something much like in the same vein as Heart did that performance when they played Stairway to Heaven. That would be real cool. I don't know if that is Legio, if that's the thing they do at these award show, that they have people playing the music of the the one who won the award. I'm hoping that, because that can be really, really cool. That can be something that will create a buzz. If they pick the right artist, much like Back to the Beginning when it comes to Black Sabbath and Ozzy. So I'm hoping for that. But I was really surprised, and it, got a lot of attention over here as well in Sweden. Prime Time showed, the announcement, so it created a buzz, and I'm hoping that they can build on this and that there will be a great award show. But for me, Kiss was always sort of the underdog. When I was at the height of my Kissteria, no one cared about Kiss but me and a few other crazy rockers. So I remember being a bit taken aback when they did the reunion, and suddenly everyone loved Kiss. I didn't really like that. I was more into, we're just a few that understand this. We are selected people that know how great this is. Most people don't get this, and then everyone, kind of liked them all of a sudden. So for me, Kiss was the underdog. But of course, I love it when they get awards and recognition, and that getting the news at this is at this stage of their career. So I was happy about it.
Yeah, I don't want to do a lot of talking today because I've already done a video, but just to kind of clarify something that Daniel said, I did that video because I wanted to capture that initial joy. I was surprised that I didn't think about politics. I thought about the band first, my band, my team. My team had just won the World Series, the World Cup. It would be like England winning the World Cup. Ain't going to happen anytime soon, but
66 latest.
66.
Yeah.
Go figure. Well, the women are doing a good job, so the lionesses are taking up the slack. But again, I was shocked by my response, which was only to think about joy from my band through all the thick and thin, through the last 5 years of criticism about the end of the road and some of the negativity that's gone with that I was happy for them. And then, obviously the other side of the coin comes into play. Mark, your reaction to the announcement?
I was happy. I mean, to be honest, because, it's been a while since we've had something to be really excited about as far as Kiss goes. I mean, usually we have this tendency of being somewhat disappointed, everyone's saying by now, where's the announcement for the Kiss box sets, and where is this and where is that, and nothing seems to be happening. We were promised that and this, but to have something like this come in out of left field, and I had no prior knowledge. I wasn't exposed to any leak of anything, so I just found out when everybody else found out, and I was happy. I mean, it's nice to see at this point in their life getting recognized for something. And the most thing that I was happy about is seeing that everybody used this as an opportunity for good comments and positive comments, and there was no needling anybody in particular. I know snooty comments towards Ace or to Peter. Everybody was on the same page. Everybody was happy that they got the award. Everybody seems happy that they are going to be receiving it, and I was just as happy as well about that, because at the end of the day, we love this band because of the music and what they provided us over the years and years of, musical joy. So finally, they're getting some sort of recognition for it, and I think it's about time.
All right, Ken, how about you?
Yeah, like I said, I was very happy. I've stuck by this band for 48 years, I think it is, and I'm happy for them. I'm happy for them as a band because they have deserved, in my opinion, a lot more awards than they've been given. Though, yes, awards aren't everything, of course. And then I'm happy for the fans. The fans that have, stuck by them for all these years. I have, and there's so many fans. It's a good thing to your band to be recognized finally somewhere. So I'm happy. I'm really happy that they got some kind of recognition, because they, in my opinion, they definitely deserve it. I know we're kind of this Kiss Army thing, and maybe seen as a cult and all this kind of stuff. But they definitely deserve it.
Yeah, it's weird going back to, some of the things that they have been honored with during, over the years. I mentioned these in the other video to a certain extent. And, they had the People's Choice Award in 1977, which was shared with Disco Duck. So even then, they couldn't get
It's
that.
like, what? Disco Duck is like, oh my God.
Beth did not get a Grammy nod that year either. It was Barry Manilow winning, Leon Russell, Gordon Lightfoot, Neil Sedaka, and Starland Vocal Band that were all up for the Song Award. So nothing anywhere near Kiss in terms of, well, Beth was certainly closer to a lot of those songs than Kiss, but still didn't get a industry nod. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they were eligible in 99. And then 2014 was a complete cluster. In 2005, Alive was put into the Library of Congress, National Registry of Recorded Arts, or whatever it is, for preservation as an album worthy. It's let me rephrase that. The Library of Congress's National Recording Registry as a audio recording worthy of preservation. That was under the Bush presidency. So take what you will from that, for that matter. In 2005 also was this wonderful little clip.
Gene, and you are a softie in some ways, but in other ways, you're the toughest guy there is.
Well, that's true.
The problem is, I'm giving you a roadmap, and I don't normally do that.
Nellie's a leader. I believe in her.
Doesn't
I have
matter.
to go with my beliefs.
She gave the executives a headache.
I think in a lot of ways, you're sitting here right now saying you don't think you're being listened to. You were all but asking
No, I
for
know
Nellie to be
Gene.
brought
He'll
up.
do the opposite because he's the most independent thinker there is. He's like this great genius marketer. He's a friend of mine, but he wants to show me how independent. So if I say do this, he's going to do the opposite.
I disagree. and
You
I'll
know
tell
I'm a
what.
fan of yours. Wait a minute. I know you disagree. You disagree with everything.
Well, I can tell you
You
why.
always disagree.
I can tell you
You
why.
think I'm a pretty smart guy, I hope, right?
Actually about as smart as they come.
Okay. I have no choice. You know that. Gene, you're fired.
You're fired, Gene.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to some of the interaction that these guys have had with the president prior. So obviously, New Yorkers. That I had actually never seen that clip before I looked it up.
I don't think I've seen it either.
I saw it when it aired. Actually, I used to watch that too.
Yeah, so it was worthy just to pull that in
Great
and
clip.
see the now president firing Gene in 2008, not 2005. Sorry for misspeaking there. But
Props to you, Julian. Props to you, Julian, for all the multimedia. I don't know what's happened the past few months here. You're going crazy with the cool multimedia. We love it, and I know fans love it as well. I've got a lot of people telling me what's up with Julian and the multimedia. So keep on doing that. But real quick now. This Canada thing, is it annual, and what did they do last year? Yeah. So what did they do last time? Did they have a show like playing the music?
Yeah, every year.
Okay.
They
Who
do the
won
same
la-
thing.
Who were the honorees last time? So I have to look it
I
up.
think I have it here, actually. 2023 were Billy Crystal, Renee Fleming, Barry Gibb, Queen Latifah, and Dionne Warwick.
So Barry Gibb of the Bee Gees, Barry Gibb. Obviously.
Yeah, and last
He's the living
year was Francis Ford Coppola,
Coppola, yeah.
Coppola.
Grateful Dead, Bonnie Raitt, Arturo Sandoval, and the Apollo Theater, the mighty Apollo Theater
Nice.
of Harlem. Which
But was there like a
lot
show
more-
where they played the Grateful Dead music, or what was it? Did they play the music?
I'm assuming so, since it's broadcast yearly. I believe
Okay.
in the president's speech, he mentioned that it would be broadcast on CBS. So presumably, it's not the first time it's been broadcast, just because he's decided he will host this year.
And this show is about the same time every year, or?
Yes, December.
And when? December. Okay.
Yep.
Looking forward to that.
Every year.
All right, so the next question is, in 2014, there was an uproar about non-originals members' exclusion from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nomination. Not a single peep this time. For the people who seem to have enjoyed or supported this, or at least tacitly approved of it, there seems to have been, only the originals. That's the only thing that matters. That is Kiss. That is the iconic image. That is all that matters. What changed with the feelings versus Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2014, Mark?
I think that it's just gotten to the point now where we're happy that it happened. We're happy that it is happening, and I think people just don't want to. I almost get the feeling that people don't want to rock the boat. They're just like, if we start making a big uproar about it and start making complaints about it, maybe it just won't happen. I kind of get that vibe sometimes from people that they're like, let's just be happy that it's happening, and I get the feeling that those comments will come after, like in January and February, when it's already done and the award is done and it's in stone and written. Then I can see people saying, well, they should have talked about this person or that person. They should have said this and that, But I think right now people are just lying low, being happy that it's going to happen. And just, you know what I mean? Because sometimes you get the feeling that if you talk too much about something beforehand and complain about it, and sometimes you get it taken away. I've seen that happen lots of times in different situations where, you announce something, it's going to happen, and then people start saying, well, there's not this, and there's not enough about that, or this and that. And then the guy just says, you know what? Fuck it. We're not going to do it then. And that's it. And I don't think people want to have that situation come up. That's just my opinion. I could be way off,
Yeah, no one wants a toddler to throw all their toys out of the pram. Daniel, what's changed?
Well, I think the main thing is that there is no current band. So there's like no competition between the current band and the originals. And Paul doesn't have to, keep pretending that the current band is the best version of the band and there's nothing better on earth. So he himself is a bit more laid back, and they've known all along that they made their biggest splash in the 70s. We all know that. The originals, after the 70s, there are a lot of good stuff, but it's really about the 70s, and that's what Kiss will be remembered by. So, of course, you should honor what made the splash, the impact that band had on pop culture was incredible. Still to this day, people are using that template like Ghost, and they're still managing to steal ideas from Kiss and becoming successful. So of course you need to honor the originals. That's what Kiss will be remembered by. So I think that's the main thing. There's no competition between the current Kiss and the classic Kiss.
Ken?
Yeah, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is there's it's kind of a sham. There's no rules. They threw out the rules when they started, allowing artists that weren't rock and roll at all ever, and that sort of thing. So that kind of changed. And then they, for instance, allow every member of the band's history versus Kiss, which they just allowed the originals, and that was because of this or that. I don't know. It's just kind of a joke. But this situation is, I understand it. It's about the arts. Those 4 original members created this thing called Kiss. They're the ones that, they made Kiss and what it became with the makeup. They each came up with their own makeup. They all, pretty much came up with their own outfits and that sort of stuff, and the music and all that stuff. So in the stage show, so after I can see just the original 4, that makes sense. Why would you include, someone later on who did not really create that, idea of what Kiss is? They're just kind of the later, they came on board, but they didn't create that initial the makeup ideas and all these other things. So that's why I understand it. There is a difference. I mean, you have to think about the influence and the creativity of how it all began.
Yeah, that's a great take on it. But Mark said something in particular which kind of comes into play here. To be afraid that they'll take it away from them, and that is now probably my biggest fear. But before we get to that, let's go to the band member statements, because TMZ, I think it was, reported it. I did reach out to ask if there was an official press release, but I haven't heard back in time for the show for these quotes. So I'm going to take them re-report from TMZ. Gene said, "Kiss is the embodiment of the American dream. We are deeply honored to receive the Kennedy Center honor." Paul, "From our earliest days, KISS has embodied the American ideal that all things are possible and that hard work pays off. The prestige of the Kennedy Center honors cannot be overstated, and I accept this on behalf of the long legacy of KISS and all of the band members who helped create our iconic band." Peter, "I feel so blessed. This is the greatest honor of our career. Congratulations to all other 2025 honorees." And Ace, "Coming from my humble beginnings growing up in the Bronx, this honor is a dream come true that I never thought would materialize. All I can say is it's beyond my wildest dreams, and I'm very honored and grateful to be included with the rest of the honorees." So, I mean, those sentiments are super nice. I'm sure that the comment about including other members who aren't part of the iconic founding lineup, may take issue with Paul's statement, but I thought Paul's statement was classy to make sure that it's just a reminder that KISS had more than just those original ingredients, but those original ingredients are what defines the cake. You're not going to substitute, get rid of, erase, or remove from the importance of the equation Peter Criss or Ace Frehley, ever.
Yeah, no.
They are there. Nothing can separate them from the legacy of KISS and the importance of that. So, again, great to also offer recognition to that. Daniel, what did you think of those statements from the band members?
Sounds great. I wonder who wrote Ace Frehley's comments there. It didn't sound like him, but all positive, and that's the way to do it. Accept the award and be grateful. So there's really nothing more to it. But let's see where this goes. I'm really getting pumped for that December thing. If they get bands doing KISS songs, like Heart doing Led Zeppelin, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, hopefully.
Man, that can be really cool and something to talk about.
Yeah. So Ace's comment, though, I love the unexpected honor. Who would have thought of this? No one was sitting there going,
No.
"Gee, I hope KISS gets a Kennedy Center honor this year."
Nope.
I have never heard that in a conversation ever, any more than I'd expect anyone to be saying, "I hope Paul Stanley gets a Tony." It's just not in the dialogue. Mark, your thought on the statements?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I think that it was good that they kind of approached it in a more positive light. They didn't use it as another way to get at each other for petty little things. And again, I have to echo what you said, Julian, about the fact that Paul, mentioned everybody in his statement. That he thought that it was important to mention, everybody that was involved in it, whether it was Bruce Kulick and Eric Singer and those people as well. So, and it is important to bring them up too. Yes, the original four were the reason why this happened, but it could have all ended in 1979 or 80 or whatever at that time, right? So, it's I think it was well done. It's fine. Is it possible that finally we've hit that moment in their career? Have we hit that corner now where they're going to finally start saying nice things about each other, and they're not going to be low blowing each other for stuff? Are we finally going to be at that time when they finally act their age in that sense? Let's see.
Yeah, but I think there's no pressure for them to perform. And by taking that pressure off, that changes the whole equation quite a bit. That no one's expecting KISS to blow up the stage during that ceremony. It's just a matter of sitting dignified like Robert Plant and Jimmy Page did, and watching others pay tribute to them. Now, I'm sure there might be a little fight about what those tributes should be. I'm pretty sure Beth has to be one. Rock and Roll All Night has to be one. And who knows what else the time format allows. But in terms of the important singles, those are two. I Was Made for Loving You, obviously, as well, with a billion streams. Might make a very nice Linda Carter production. Yeah. So Ken, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, they're simple and classy statements. Perfect. There's no need to say anything extra about it. So Ace should have just at the end should have had a heck, kind of thing at the end. That would have been
Yeah.
perfect. But and then and Gene didn't get into like, oh, buy a live box set is coming out. No promotion or selling, which is good. There's nothing in there. It's just simple and classy.
Well,
I can't stop staring. I can't stop staring at Ken's shirt. That Kiss with one S. That's just so crazy. Dressed to Kill cover.
Don't you love that?
Sorry. Yeah, I don't love that.
Oh, it's a British guy.
It's the album cover. Yeah.
That design. Yeah.
Kiss with the one S. Yeah.
So Ken, going straight back to you.
Yeah.
What the hell were you saying? You just said something that I wanted to follow up on.
Sorry.
Promotion. Yeah. No, thanks. So,
promotion. Yes.
Daniel distracted me.
Yeah.
One thing I haven't seen is any jumping on this announcement to try and bandwagon or bumper car any promotional activities to even help Las Vegas. Three Sides mentioned on this show that there's on their show this week that there was they perceive there to be no buzz whatsoever around Vegas or really anything going on with Kiss at the moment. There's a lot of fire. There's not a lot of buzz around this announcement about the Kennedy honors on Kiss's Twitter. As of the last time I checked it, there was nothing. On their Instagram, there was nothing. Again, I reached out for clarifications on a couple of things, and there was nothing. So it's a very odd. Which raised the question to me of whether Pop House was engaged prior to the decision being taken and whether Pop House, as now the new IP owners, have had any say in the decision, or whether, coming from a European dynamic where there's certainly been friction between governments of late, whether that's going to play into any of it. But Ken, are you surprised that they've missed an opportunity to promote and sell shit?
Exactly. That's one of the first things I thought. Oh, this is a perfect, right now is a kind of a hot window of a couple of days. You only have a couple of days to do it, I think, because people then start forgetting and they move on to the next news that's coming. And I checked the Kiss online, there's nothing new on there, nothing. It's like, why aren't they even mentioning, in their Kiss news that they got this honor and then have the quotes in there listed there? It just doesn't make any sense. You would think someone goes, oh yeah, Kiss, and so they'll go out looking for, I'll search for Kiss on, Kiss online and get there and like, there's nothing about there. Oh, there's this Kiss cruise on land in Vegas. Well, I think they're still so worried about selling tickets for that still. Yeah, it's a missed opportunity. It's a missed opportunity to maybe announce a Kiss box set earlier than normal, maybe. That's going to come. I just don't get it. I think Pop House has really kind of dropped the ball, among other things, because they're not doing anything leading up to kind of generating an excitement for the future. When I think of like the box set of Kiss Alive, I would want them to do kind of news snippets from things that are coming up, leading up to that was going on, 50 years ago at this time, where they were recording or they were doing certain different things around Kiss Alive, but nothing. It's like crickets. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's too quiet.
Actually, sorry, go on.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, actually, to me, it kind of makes a bit of sense. I just wrote this down on my little piece of paper just so I didn't forget. In this internet era that we live in, everything is different now. I mean, back in the day when we were reliant on magazines and whatever sort of television things that there were, it was different. When something was announced, then it was like, oh, something was announced, and then we had to wait for the next magazine or whatever, and so there was that build up and hype. The problem now is that with the internet, you have this immediate flash of excitement. They announce something, and I remember when this was announced, my Facebook, every single other feed was about the Kiss thing for the Kiss Kennedy honors. Every other thing, it was a huge amount of it on there. The next day there was still stuff on there, but by day 3 it was crickets. There was nobody was posting anything about it because they had already moved on to something new. In this internet era now, the best thing to do, I find, is when you have a new announcement to make, do it closer to the time that you're going to actually do it, because then you can capitalize on that fire and the excitement. If you're going to announce it now and it's going to be in December, well, man, you got a lot of work to do to keep people's attention to that, because there's going to be like 50 things that are going to be coming out in between now and December that people are going to be focusing on, besides Kiss's induction into this Kennedy honors thing. So you got to get yourself either a really good promo person that's going to be doing this stuff constantly and keeping them in people's eye. Otherwise, the best thing to do is to just wait later to announce it. You know, I know they can't do that because they're not in charge of when they announce it. This is obviously the Kennedy Honors Committee is in charge of when they announce all this stuff. But, you know, if you want to keep that in people's attention span, man, you got a lot of work to do now. A lot of work.
Yeah, you never miss the opportunity to promote yourself like Mark just did today. You know, he failed to tell everyone that he's got a really cool Project Gemini update, and you really should go to his channel and check it out. So never miss the opportunity to promote yourself. But I don't think Kiss had a lot of notice for this. Daniel, I don't want to skip you on that topic.
I think Mark made a lot of great points there, and you know, there's nothing more to do about the announcement now. It's been said. It's the people know about it, and on the one hand, I think it's kind of puzzling that they didn't do anything on Kiss Online. I think that's kind of strange, actually. On the other hand, they need to push this December event. That's the thing. If they can get a lot of traction, like Mark said, when it comes to the event, and it will be real exciting who the artists are that will be performing Kiss music. I'm thinking about a lot of artists that could fit the bill real well, and I'm hoping that they can bring some really exciting artists, and that's where you can make the impact, you know, prior to that show, and then that show might explode, and you got a lot of attention from people all around the world.
Yeah, they need to push that November event before. They've got 850 packages unsold for Vegas. And as Three Sides pointed out, and I agree with certain parts of their analysis, is that there's no buzz whatsoever. I mean, number one, it is so far out still, and it is so far out of a lot of people's price range, and it's been so badly managed, communicated. There's nothing. They have an opportunity, I think, with this. If Peter and Ace are on board for the Kennedy Center Honors, why can't they do something as a precursor in November?
Maybe.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they're going to need a bigger boat. I mean, hotel, which should be a problem. You know, and maybe that's delusional. I mean, I'm just spitballing there. Going back to the response to this, we will have done, I did the separate 8-minute video. We've done our show episode. I'm pretty sure all the KISS podcasts will do a show in their next cycle about this, or at least touch on it in some way. It'd be very unusual for them to ignore it, but some will, because everyone else has flapped their lips and they'll feel they have nothing to add to it, which is, we would do that with topics. But I'm surprised by the reaction to it. I did not think it was going to be overwhelmingly in favor of them accepting the honor. I thought it'd be more like a U.S. election, which ends up 48% to 48%, with the others undecided or voting for irrelevancies because they're butthurt about a candidate or something. You know, I thought it would be a much tighter vote. I did a poll on YouTube on our channel, and that came back 84% in favor against 16. And you know, while the question of should KISS accept the Kennedy Center honors, I mean, it's already a foregone conclusion. They have. But did you agree with that decision? 84% said yes on YouTube. And on the KISS FAQ, where I would say our spectrum is much broader, 75% were in favor of this. I'm shocked by that level of agreement for it in such a divisive day and age. I've seen, you know, close friends who have been vehemently against it, and I'm fine with that. I've seen people who are super happy or had a similar reaction to me. I've seen people like some of the commenters who aren't getting their comments on the screen today, really being into it for political reasons. Just like the comments against it won't get up on the screen. I mean, are you shocked by that level of acceptance? Because it's going to lead into part of the next question. Ken.
I'm not. Yeah, I think it's valid. I don't think I'm not surprised by that. Everyone comes to this, either the Kiss FAQ, or if you're a Kiss fan, you're a Kiss fan. You're a true dedicated Kiss fan. There's no two ways about it. You're either a Kiss fan or you're not a Kiss fan. So, you're going to want your band to get some kind of accolades because you believe in them. Why shouldn't other people believe in them? Because you know the music, you know the show, you know everything about them, what makes them, has made them so great over the years, and why they've lasted so long. So I'm not surprised that it's so high. I can't believe people go, no, they shouldn't accept award. And I don't get political on this stuff. It has nothing to do with politics for me. It's just acceptance and my band, being finally, accepted and regaled, or whatever you call it. But so yeah, I'm not surprised that it's 70-something% on 75% on the Kiss FAQ, and then the other one you talked about was like 80 or something percent. But yeah, I think they were I was watching something, one of the news programs, and they were mentioning who the band, people who got in there, and people are saying, yeah, Kiss, they deserve it. They were, and these are just kind of fair weather kind of people. They agree. They think, yeah, Kiss should be getting honored. They're deserving of the award. So I don't know. I just think it's a surprising when it's a no, in my opinion.
Yeah, my car wash guy said that I'm overcompensating for a lack of previous recognition for the band, but what was
overcompensating?
A car wash guy, much like Paul. Okay.
I think I'm actually kind of like with Ken in the sense that I'm surprised that it wasn't higher the number. I mean, every time we go and do a podcast and we see things on the board, everybody seems to, always claim that Kiss, deserves this and they need that, or they should be recognized for doing this and doing that. So you would think now in an opportunity when, you can actually support that and say, yeah, I think they deserve to get this kind of an honor, that more people would pipe up and say yes, right? I mean, people have their reasons and stuff like that. So that's fine, right? That comes with, the great thing about living in a democratic place is you can not agree with people and not be put in jail for that, right? So I think that this is just surprising that there wasn't more people saying yes. So that's all. But I'm not surprised. But I would have been surprised if it was like 50-50. That would have been really a surprise. But yeah, I was expecting 90, in my opinion. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Kiss are sitting back to see some polls on the Kiss FAQ before posting.
They're watching them. They're watching the Kiss.
No, I would not be surprised that they're reading the room. Paul Stanley, look at him in interviews. I think I mentioned this, that you ask Paul a question in an interview that's not pre-screened. He stops. He thinks. Yeah. He then delivers a fully formed, rational answer to that. But he has that pause where he's computing, recalibrating, and really thinking. And that's what strikes me now. Daniel, please don't let me forget you.
Well, I think Kiss's music is so non-political. So I think that people don't see. It would have been way different if it would have given the honors to something like Rage Against the Machine or a political band. But Kiss is so unpolitical. It's about having a good time, party all night long, and rock and roll all night, and all that stuff. So I don't even think people made the connection between the politics and the music. And music, when it comes to Kiss and politics, are so far apart. So I think. even if it would, doesn't matter who the president is when he's announcing Kiss getting an award. People think about the makeup and the show and nothing about politics. If he would have said, "Well, we'll give a prize to Rage Against the Machine" or something like that, then people might have been, a little bit suspicious about the honors. But this, it's just that fun band from the 70s. What the hell? Give them an award.
Hey, Chuck, in the comments, yeah, I've been reading them. Let's settle down, because this is a cartoon rock band that wears makeup, and that's what we're here for. But we've talked about the fear of it being taken away. And here's the press have already done their job, and they are reporting on some of the negative comments that Gene and Paul have previously made. Here's one, Gene in Spin in 2022. I know the previous U.S. president. I knew him before he entered politics. Look what that gentleman did to this country and the polarization. Got all the cockroaches to rise to the top. Once upon a time, you were embarrassed to be publicly racist, and out there were conspiracy theories. Now it's all out in the open because he allowed it. We knew each other before that, in clubs and all that. You have a different responsibility when you're just a citizen or an entrepreneur. You don't make policy. It doesn't affect life and death. When you get into a position of power, it does affect lives. I don't think he's a Republican or a Democrat, blah, blah, blah. Why I want to draw attention to this is both he and Paul have made comments against the president. Are you afraid that when people start reporting all of this, sorry, I'm talking about it here too, that this award could now be taken away from them in a fit of pique because it's crossed a line that they didn't think about or didn't know about at the time? Mark?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure really how to answer that, to be honest, but...
Ken?
I don't think it's. I'm not worried about if it happens. It happens to me. Whatever. If they got it taken away, at this point, I don't think you can. They accepted it, and it's going to happen. You showed those comments, and again, I don't want to get political or anything, but I've seen positive and negative comments both from regarding the president from Gene and Paul in the past. They've done both. There's things they like, and then there's things they don't like. And it's kind of like with any president you get. Sometimes the president does some things you like, and then there's other things like, man, at least he's doing this right, but then he's doing this wrong. It's like you can't win. It just can't win. So in politics, you can't win. So it is what it is. I guess nothing else to say.
Sorry,
about
Ken.
it.
I just want to say really quickly. I know I had a really small answer there, but I mean, politics is something that I just really found difficult to kind of get into, because I find that you can never answer that without having some sort of blowback from someone or some party or something, for it. So it's almost like I almost like rather staying out of it. Not because I don't have a belief in anything, but I just think that it's not going to affect you. The way a person is the way a person is. You can't convince them to think otherwise, right? I don't want to. And I've never done it this way, and I found that this way I've never lost friends over politics. I've never, lost, or had family members that didn't talk to me for 20 years, which you'd be surprised. Gotcha. My grandmother and one of her friends didn't speak to each other for 32 years because of something they said once at a card game together. And you know what I mean? Some people are just like that,
What do you mean? Yeah. Were one of them pro-Nazi or what?
No, it wasn't anything like that.
Okay, because then I can understand it, but otherwise,
no, it was. But that's the thing. You make a joke out of it, but at the other end, though, it was something that wasn't even that serious, and that's how people can be.
Yeah, you would be surprised at some of the comments that can end relationships.
Yeah,
that's why I wanted to make sure I put up this other Paul comment. This, if anything, is more important than anything anyone's going to be dredge up. That they have said previously. We've all said things previously that people could take out of context or twist in some ways. That's why it's better, as Mark said, to say as little as possible when talking about anything. Do the entertainers you enjoy have to share your belief? Would you like it more if you didn't know? I know I would. In many cases, you'd be fooling yourself. I won't do that to you or me. That's Paul Stanley on Twitter. Go read Paul's Twitter feed. And that's something that I fully do believe in, that I have to separate my beliefs, spiritual,
to
political,
some extent as well,
social, whatever, from the music, or I'd never be able to listen to a Ted Nugent song again. Daniel, I like Stranglehold. I'm not giving up
that's my favorite song, almost top 10 of all time. What's the question now? There's so much going on. What do you want to know, Julian? What's the question?
Do you fear people now trolling through Gene and Paul's socials to find negative comments and this being taken away from them because of what they may have said in the past?
You can always, take a comment and, show it and it looks crazy. But I think Gene is the one who's been most political in the band. He's the one being on all shows. But I think most of the time he's very pro-president. You know what I'm saying? He always says like, well, he is the president. You have to honor him because he's the president, good or bad. So if they pick one bad quote from Gene, I think they can pick 10 good quotes because I think he's been pretty good at, not sticking out too much either way. And he's always been like, I'm thankful to America. They made my life what it has become. I'm living the American dream and so on. And you have to honor the president, even if you don't agree with him. He's the one in charge. If you think differently, show it with your vote. So I don't think there will be any problem.
One last thing. We've all grown up differently, had different, mothers, fathers, this and that, different lives. But one thing that unites us is this band Kiss. We all love the band Kiss, and that's why we're here, and that's all that matters, So anyway.
Yeah, I mean, as they used to say, shut up and play your instrument, on stage. And
exactly.
I wish they'd done more of that. I didn't get offended in the 1980s when Paul Stanley, listening to 1980s concerts, when Paul Stanley was bashing Duran Duran. Shame on him. I was into Duran Duran before Kit. I'm okay with Michael Jackson. But Duran Duran, no, shame on him for that. You had something else to say?
He also, thrashed the boys bands of the the late 80s. I remember during the Hard in the Shade tour, that was quite interesting. Who the fuck are the new kids on the block? You remember that?
Yeah, but in the 70s and 80s, he went after teachers and preachers.
Yeah,
again, stand up for what you believe.
It was all an act. It was all an act from Paul Stanley to get traction and get being the rebel.
To relate to the 14-year-olds. All right, Mark, I got a question that you'll definitely be able to and willing to talk about, and that's your expectations of the ceremonies. What are your initial expectations from that? We'll do a separate show on how we would structure it, but, just for the remainder of the show.
Well, what I expect and what I would like to see are two different things. What I expect to see is something similar to what we were talking about before. They'll come dressed nicely. They'll sit in the crowd. And there's special VIP seating, and they'll have some selected artists come up and play some songs very important to Kiss and to Kiss fans, like Detroit Rock City and The Beth and stuff like that. And some of the other songs that are, Kiss have been known for, and for not only that we know, but more the general public will know as well, right? I think that'll be important since it will be televised, don't forget, right? So you're going to want to play songs that people are going to know that maybe not even are big Kiss fans. What I would like to see in that is exactly what I just said, watching this and that. But I would love to see if they could maybe just for once, after the bands that play their stuff, do their part of it, to just get them to come up and do one song together. Just play Rock and Roll Night one last time, just the four of them. Nothing complicated, just those. I know it's not going to happen. There's no way that it will happen, but in my perfect world, what I would love to see is that let the people come in, do their tributes to them, but let them just go up, give them the guitars that the other guys are playing, just go behind the drum kit and just play rock and roll night. It's very easy. It's 3 chords, 4 chords, and just play that song to just end out the night and to kind of give a tip of the hat to everybody that came.
Yeah, the president did allude to something special happening before the ceremony.
Like a day before.
Yeah, with
What's
no
that?
audience, just film the original 4 doing 3 songs or something. That again, my expectation of the ceremony, it's just me, is that this provides me a bookend that I need emotionally to their career. The last 5 years have been tough, seeing a band that really shouldn't have been on the road with the breakdown just of the ability to perform at the level that I expect from this group, struggling to get through the road, to have stayed past their sell-by date in very many ways. It snuck up on me anyway, as much as I'm sure it snuck up on them. It's a way to close out. 2014 was very dissatisfying. The years since, where there have been shots taken continuously at Ace and Peter, have withered and worn on me no end, and it really made me lose a lot of respect. This could be a kumbaya bookend that brings the focus back to the original 4 and everything, all of the foundations that were planted in 1973 and grew into a massive tree, an oak of power. That's my only expectations for the ceremony. And to have that just be kind of really carved in stone, of the 4 of them sitting on a balcony, watching people pay tribute to them and say nice things about them and their importance to pop culture, and in this case, American pop culture in particular. Ken?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I just want them one more time together, all 4 together in one room, all together, smiling and enjoying their overdue recognition. And I don't know what the format's going to be of this, if it's going to be the same as they do every year or whatever, but I'm sure there'll be performers. I don't know who those will be. We'll, I guess, speculate on that at some point on another show. But I just want to see them enjoying their music played in front of them and by probably very, well-known artists, and just reaping in their long history of what they've done and what they've created. And it's kind of a full circle kind of thing. And like Julian said, a bookend. It would be a great bookend to really, end a proper ending for KISS as we know it. So anyway, that's all I got for now.
Daniel?
That's great. Well, if they can mimic the way Led Zeppelin had it during their award show, that'll be great. And I think one of the guys here in the comments, Hugh Hefner's boy there, his son Josh, he made a great comment. The bookend that Ozzy got, KISS can have it here. If they can touch that send off that Ozzy got during the Back to the Beginning show, that'll be great. But it's all about what artists they pick. It's really, really important. You have to pick the right artists and the right songs. Maybe pick some classic KISS fan artists and maybe adding someone new, someone, current, much like Ozzy did. He had
Youngblood.
Exactly. I think that was an awesome performance. I've only heard him sing during, when I'm playing NHL 25. There's a song from him. That's the only time I've heard of Youngblood. But he made a great performance there. And I think that's the way, a new artist, send on, what do you say, the baton to the next generation. I think that would be great. Classic artist and one new artist, and have the original band, maybe the other guys as well, up in the stands, sitting there crying their eyes out because it's so beautiful and great. I'm looking forward to that.
I
Will
would
be
be watching
real
it on TV and crying my eyes out.
Yeah, me too.
I will totally tune into that, but I think the Aussie thing really hits home. That's so recent and so raw, and that wound, is really open. And again, this week, Dave Mustaine announced the end of Megadeth.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
well.
yeah. Oh, that.
The clock is ticking.
It's terrible.
How much of that emotional energy do I want to spend being angry and pissed off about things that I can't change if I wanted to? Todd, you've had quite a few great comments today. Thank you very much. I was
Todd's a
thrilled
good
as well
guy.
seeing them on stage, but it was all the stuff and static that surrounded getting to that point that ruined it. As well as the ceremony where the Springsteen band, who were allowed to include everyone, their cat and their dog, went on and on and on. And Ace was sitting there at his table with a guitar under it, ready to jam, and lost the opportunity to jam because of a bunch of long-winded people who rightfully were being honored as well, but by a different set of rules and had been applied to Kiss.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the same. I looked at the pictures today of them standing together with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame statues. It's a wonderful thing, but it is
like
tarnished.
magic. It
by
is
the
a magic.
It's tarnished by the negativity. Here is an opportunity to do it in what I hope is the right way, or at least the way that they, as 25% partners in the original foundation of this group, if they can do it with a true camaraderie, as noted as well, that would be icing on the cake.
Yeah.
And then please announce some freaking product. Universal needs to fast track a new compilation, if nothing else.
They're missing their
another compilation.
No
missing.
compilation.
Oh.
Not compilation, just the box sets.
Or-
man.
Jesus. Yeah.
Or, well, no, I think there should be a compilation in conjunction with this. Maybe
With the new
triple
song, recorded song. Anyway,
double plastic.
No.
by the
No, I'm
original
not
four
wor-
members.
In all of this, I am not worrying about musical performance. It has nothing to do with it. That's where the pressure comes off. I don't have any expectations of makeup. I have no expectations of a performance. As much as I mentioned it as a surprise, yeah, it would be nice. But in terms of just them sitting there looking dignified, like the Mount Rushmore of rock, that's my only hope. To see them smiling, not to see them grimace smiling, where they're gnashing their teeth because they're having to be, within inches of each other. No, I would like them to be able to hug each other and really celebrate it without talking about diarrhea and addiction. If you remember Ace's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame speech. Anyone have any final thoughts?
Yes, I have one final thought. I think Julian, I think you jinxed us. I have a bad feeling now that there's going to be an announcement of a compilation record coming out very soon. That's going to be part of the announcement. You watch.
We'll have to
when they
review
go
it.
out before it, Donald Trump's going to go out. Kiss is here with a great announcement to tell everybody with the release of the new Kiss compilation album that will be coming out in December in conjunction with the Kennedy Honors. You watch. I really hope I'm wrong, but I just got this feeling that just jolted down my body when Julian said something about a compilation record.
Hey, at least it'd be an announcement of something. There's not a lot of that going on, is there?
That's
for all
true.
the rumors that are circulating.
That's true.
Jeez.
My final thought is that I'm really, really buzzed about the December performance. I'm looking forward to that. What will it be? What bands will be there? How will Paul, Gene, Ace, and Peter look when they're watching the bands? I'm getting images of that Led Zeppelin performance or that Heart performance when Led Zeppelin watching the show. I'm looking forward to that big time. And December isn't that far away either.
No, it's not. We're going to have to do some research and see how other artists have been honored at the Kennedy Center and come up with a show episode to align that with our hopes for how that will actually. And I know someone did mention that. Ken, final thoughts.
I don't know. I think I am excuse me. I am enjoying the buzz that's going on. It's gotten me more excited. I feel I'm playing more Kiss music now because of this buzz, and watching more Kiss videos because of this buzz. It's just like I don't know what it is. It's just it created a happiness of going back to what I love about Kiss in the first place. And I played double platinum the other day when it was announced, or yesterday, or whenever it was. But I'm just really happy and hope it all goes well. I think these last few months are going to be hopefully very exciting, with not just that, but other stuff coming, which has been rumored or promised. I think they got to get that ball rolling now.
Well, there we are. We've tap danced through the minefield today, and no doubt we will have offended someone, and for that I do apologize. It certainly was not intended. It was intended to be an honest conversation about our fan perspective of this announcement, not a political dive down into all of that crap. You can tune into your 24-hour news cycle of your preference to continue watching that. We want to talk about music. I listened to Kiss live in Tulsa 75 and Largo 75 this morning. I've listened to more Kiss this week.
Yeah.
The only non-Kiss I've listened to this week has been An Ordinary Day, Mark.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I know. Okay. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, Julian, but I want to ask you something really quickly. But first of all, thank you for reminding me that there is a new Project Gemini update video out for you guys to check out and watch.
It's coming through.
That's just so you guys know, because there is an announcement of another record that's going to be coming out soon, and a Christmas EP that will be coming out this year as well. So
is there a Kiss song on the EP? Is there a Kiss song on the Christmas?
No Kiss.
Wow.
But I do want to say one thing though. Julie and I, every time we've talked about music, and my music in particular, you mentioned Ordinary Day. That this must be is it your favorite record of mine? Because you seem to tend to refer to it a lot.
I just play the first two. I just throw them into Winamp because it whips the lava.
Winamp.
Yes.
Winamp. Oh my.
Oh Lord.
Hey,
I haven't heard that one in a long time.
30 years later.
That's still around.
The simplicity.
That's awesome.
I hate Apple Music and VLC and anything like that for playing playlists. But yeah, Mark, those first two, because they were the first two as well, and there's just something about them musically, because it was a very new musical perspective. So yeah, I still enjoy the shit out of those those albums, and they're the ones I'll reach into. I was just listening to Joe Bailey last week, which reminds me as well. I need to get in touch with him for a Look It's Rock and Roll podcast for his new album. So yeah, I still listen. So
awesome.
Make Kiss great again.
Kiss was always great. Kiss never needed being made great again. Kiss is Kiss. Kiss's legacy has been secured for decades. So it's about maintaining the visibility. Hopefully the buzz does return. Hopefully they will sit back in their little corporate office. They move at the speed of any corporate monolith, which is slower than a snail on Xanax. I think that might be the correct way to put it. But hopefully the buzz can come back. Hopefully the buzz is alive and well. And if you're not into it, be happy. Play the Kiss album that will make you happy. If this doesn't do anything for you, there's no wrong answer. There it is. I look forward to listening to Podcast Rock City and Three Sides and the other podcasts and seeing what they have to say on the topic, because we haven't covered every angle. There's a lot more to it.
But we're still number one.
No, Podcast Rock City is always number one.
Number two.
And don't you forget that.
0.5.
No.
So that's higher.
Everyone's number. We're all. Everyone's like Oprah Winfrey. We're all number one. All right, that's it from Daniel, from Mark, from Ken, and myself. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the message board and discuss the topics we've broadcast today. Don't forget to hit subscribe wherever you've listened to this show, and a like would very much be appreciated. We hope you'll join us again, but until then, remember, life's a radio. Turn it up to 10.